Welcome back to the GTN Show. And now then, could simply eating more make you faster? I know it sounds odd, but recent research is suggesting that training our gut like competitive food eaters could be beneficial to us as athletes.
Wow, well, we've certainly got a lot to talk about this week, including the crazy Barkley Marathon, a 100-mile cycling record, a new tyre from space, and winter triathlon racing.
Now then, nutrition is often considered the fourth discipline of triathlon. It is obviously so important, but oddly, many of us actually verge on the point of under-fueling to prevent any discomfort to our stomach. It's often that fine line between fueling just enough and perhaps actually slightly under-fueling to avoid that discomfort.
Yeah, I definitely fit into that window of struggling with it, but there's been some recent studies that show that the stomach actually has some adaptability, and as a result, it can be trained because it is an organ and the way we train other muscles.
Yeah, now a lot of this evidence does come from studies in animals, but that evidence is pretty strong, and actually some of the few studies they've had in humans points in the same direction too. Now, we're actually going to look here, what they've done is looked at contestants of eating competitions who are obviously well known for eating ginormous quantities of food in a short space of time and being able to tolerate it and not have too much stomach discomfort. So here we go, listen to this. The current all-time record for eating is 69 hot dogs with buns in 10 minutes. Now, to achieve this, competitive eaters train using a variety of methods, chewing large pieces of chewing gum for longer periods of time, or stomach extension by drinking fluids, or by eating the competition foods. Now, volumes progressively increased, and it takes many weeks to reach a level where these eaters can be competitive. How crazy is that?
It's making me feel a bit sick listening to it. Now, Mark, I always thought that you would kind of be good at an eating competition, because whenever we sit down as a team to eat and we're all chatting away and your plate is empty and you had double as much as everyone else, and we've, like the rest of us, have hardly made an impact on our plate. But listening to that, you've got some way to go.
I certainly
have.
have.
I think you could do 69 hot dogs. But it does, I mean, it's crazy, but it does show that there is some adaptability. And apparently this has proven that the stomach can extend, which I guess we kind of knew, doesn't it? And then therefore contain more food. And also they say a full stomach is better tolerated after this training, and it's not going to be perceived as so full. So you're more used to it, and in theory then able to go and do exercise or whatever with more food in your tummy.
Yeah, now we are often actually told, as a very rough figure, that our bodies can absorb 60 grams of carbohydrates per hour during exercise. Obviously that is a very rough figure, but if we try and take on more carbohydrate than that 60 grams, essentially our body and our intestine goes into overload. It can't absorb that much, and that's where those stomach discomforts come from. What they're suggesting though is that increasing daily carbohydrate intake, mostly increasing intake during activity specifically, has been shown to increase the absorption and oxidation of ingested carbohydrate. And you know what? I sense a GTN experiment coming on from this.
Yeah, I feel it's going to be leave that one in the ball in your court, I think, Mark. We know you're partly practiced
already. What I would say though, honestly, this is obviously very interesting, fascinating, but we do not suggest you suddenly start going out and quadrupling your carbohydrate intake per day, or maybe even trying 69 hot dogs in 10 minutes. That is not a good idea.
No, please don't. But if you do want to read more about it, ask who you can drop. The sports scientist and nutritionist has written a lot on this. We're going to share it in the description below. But now I expect quite a few of you will have heard of, if not seen, the Barkley Marathon. Now, it became really quite well known a few years back when Netflix made a documentary about the crazy event.
Yeah, and that event, the Barkley Marathon, won again. There were no finishers in 2021. Now, this event takes place in the Frozen Head State Park in Tennessee, and yeah, as Heather said, it is a pretty bizarre event. Now, you have to apply to the event by writing an essay as to why you should be accepted into the race. And then once you are hopefully accepted, you then have to arrive with a registration plate of a vehicle from your local area and an item of clothing or whatever the organizer, Gary Lazarus Lake Cantrell, requests. And then the race actually starts, or you're signaled an hour before the start by a conch going, and that could be anywhere between midnight to noon of race day. And then the race is actually started by him lighting a cigarette.
Yeah, you couldn't write this stuff, could you? But each lap is 20 miles, and then they have to actually complete the whole thing. It's 5 laps are needed, which obviously equals 100 miles, and that has to be done within 60 hours. And I mean, it sounds hard, but it sounds relatively straightforward. It isn't. The route is unmarked. After each lap, the direction changes, and obviously the fact it's over 60 hours, the light is going to be changing. It might be in pitch black, it might be daylight, so everything looks different all the time. And along the way, to sort of prove that you've got to your certain points on the course, you have to get a page out of a book, and these books normally have some interesting titles as well, don't they?
Yeah, well, this year nobody started the 4th lap. We had two participants, 3-time Barkley Marathon finisher Jared Campbell and Luke Nelson. They completed 3 loops before pulling out. We also had a rather exciting virgin to the race, and that was Courtney Dauwalter, who is UTMB champion. So everyone, obviously, there's hot eyes looking to see if she will complete it, amongst others. Unfortunately, as I've mentioned already, nobody completed, and it seems that Courtney and a group of runners with her actually sort of got lost in the fog at one point, which, from the sound of things and having watched the Netflix documentary, it's not a place you want to get lost.
No, it's not, but it does sound like it's just sort of made to be impossible. Because I mean, when I saw that Courtney Dauwalter was doing it, I was like, well, you know, great, at last there's going to be a woman on the finishing sheet that's going to have completed it. I really had faith. And I mean, if she can't do it, I'm just like, who can? It's madness.
Well, moving on, unfortunately, to some more saddening news, and that is of the passing of Dick Hoyt, father of Rick Hoyt and part of the famous Team Hoyt. Now, back in 1977, Rick Hoyt, who suffers from cerebral palsy, asked his dad whether they could do a 5-mile run together as a father-son duo. And that team, well, they've become quite famous, and the rest, well, really is history.
Yeah, I mean, the pair really have left or put down an incredible legacy of what they have done over the last sort of 20, 30 years. And obviously it's a very sad moment, but given us a chance to reflect on some of the incredible things that the two of them got up to. So they went to the Ironman World Championships in 1989, came back 10 years later to make it across the finish line. So Dick would tow Rick in the swim, and then basically pull him on the bike and then push him on the run. And I mean, anyone who's ever completed an Ironman on their own knows how hard it is, and to do that, to taking your son along, is just incredible. And there's a few numbers here that I just want to share with you guys. So as a pair, they competed in 1,130 endurance events, including 72 marathons. Now, we were just talking about this a moment ago. That's like, say you did 2 marathons every year, that would be 36 years of doing a marathon, or doing 2 every year whilst pushing somebody. And I haven't got the times here, but I do remember they managed to complete it in some pretty fast times as well. 6 full Ironman triathlons and 32 instances of doing the Boston Marathon. And then in 2008, they were inducted into the Ironman Hall of Fame. And I think that just shows sort of what an impact they've had on our sport, and the legacy will certainly be remembered.
Right, if anyone out there watched the GTN video back in November of Jonathan Schubert breaking the RRA 100-mile cycling record, well, someone has just gone and beaten that same record. It is Jonathan Parker, and he set a new time of 2 hours, 49 minutes and 58 seconds over the 100 miles, beating the previous record by 8 minutes. Now that, I believe, is still being verified as we speak using his Strava activity. That said, I'm not entirely sure it will actually stand as an RRA record officially, because it was actually set in Qatar rather than Great Britain. Nonetheless, he does say he had a 33-kilometer cross tailwind, which he admits he didn't think would actually be enough to Jonathan Schubert's 38-kilometer tailwind, getting the excuses in, but I mean, he's still done a blooming impressive job. He says he weighs around 79 kilograms and he had to hold a normalized power of 318 watts over 100 miles, which, I'm going to be honest, isn't as much as I thought, given how fast that time is.
Yeah, you think Lionel could do that?
Well, yeah. He said there was one section where he had a horrible slow crosswind and he had to push over 390 watts for 9 minutes, which is definitely going to cause some damage when you're doing a 100-mile race. Now, he actually said he wasn't planning to actually go for the record that time. He was just going to do a bit of a trial run, and obviously felt he was on for a good time, so just
That's
kept
a decent
going.
trial run, isn't it?
Well, yeah, there we go. If only we could all cycle that fast, eh?
Yeah, we're going from some fast cycling to maybe more sociable running. I think most of you guys know of ParkRun. It's huge here in the UK and it's now pretty large worldwide. It's a concept that was set up in 2004 in Bushy Park in London, basically a free 5K run. Well, Eileen Jones, who is a runner herself, but also a journalist and publisher, has just made a book trying to capture the magic and the essence of ParkRun. And she's done it by visiting parkruns all around the country. This was obviously before lockdown, but the book is now being launched, and to celebrate the launch, I mean, it's quite a nice idea. She's got everyone, or not everyone, she's got 90 runners to partake in a relay that's covering 330 miles from her own park run up in Windermere. It's at Felfoot Park, and they are then going to take a week. It's happening right now, actually. I think they set off a few days ago to get down to London. So they're covering that whole distance, and they're going to be delivering it to Paul Sinton Hewitt, who actually set up the park run back in 2004. So just a really nice story, and we certainly can't wait till park run is actually back and happening for real. Hopefully not long in this country.
Okay, now moving on to some tech news. And if any of you out there have been watching the cycling racing lately and have a keen eye for detail, well, you may have noticed that EF Education Nippo rider Sebastian Langveld was recently riding an unbranded, blacked out and very sleek looking TT bike. Now, obviously EF Education Nippo are sponsored by Cannondale, but all the other riders have been riding the older Super Slice TT bike. This definitely was not that. Now, speaking to their global media relations manager, they said, "I can confirm it is most definitely a Cannondale, but can't currently name the model at this time. I will be able to hopefully in the near future." Now, the Super Slice TT actually has an exposed brake and cable at the front, which, going by most TT bike standards currently, is quite old tech. So I think it's about time they have a new bike, and this bike, well, it does look pretty cool.
Yeah, the Super Slice was my very first TT bike
Oh,
that
cool.
I ever rode. I loved it, but you know, we've kind of come on a little bit now haven't we, with what's behind us. Anyway, looking at specifically tyres now. Are you fed up of punchers? I mean, no one likes a puncher, do they? Well, how do you fancy riding some tyres on your bike that are designed from NASA for their space rovers? Now, this sounds pretty crazy tech, and it is, so I'm actually going to have to refer to my notes for some of this. So Smart have designed these metal tyres, METL, and as you guessed it, they actually include some metal compound. Now, it's specifically nickel titanium alloy, which they have named Nitinol Plus, which is arranged in a series of sort of loops, almost like medieval chainmail. And apparently, as it moves, it deforms and then reforms. Now, don't ask me the exact details of how this works, I don't know. But, as you can probably imagine, it's puncture resistant, and that's the great thing, isn't it? We don't have that many specifics there. We don't know how much it weighs. It is supposedly better for the environment, because I imagine it lasts a lot longer as well. But at the moment, yeah, we don't have that much more detail, but it's certainly something we'll be keeping an eye on.
Well, the only thing I'm going to add is, I mean, if you ride off road or any gravel, are you just going to pick up dirt and stones?
Or anything that's magnetic. I don't know. My chemistry's not very good. I wouldn't know.
Well, finally, you may remember a few weeks back, we spoke about Adam Hansen and his crazy inventions he's making or designed and building a homemade TT bike. It looks absolutely amazing. Well, he's been a busy man, as he has also updated us on Twitter with the progress of his home-built endless swimming pool. I mean, this guy, he's taking his training seriously.
That is, it's got a little way to go, but that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yes. Well, finally, in case you haven't seen it already, we are giving you the chance to win one of 3 Met Trenta 3K carbon helmets. All you need to do is take part in our survey. It only takes around 10 minutes to complete that survey, and that will be closing on the 26th of March. So get involved for your chance to win a helmet.
Okay, now for some race news. It's a bit different this weekend. We have results from the Winter Triathlon World Championships held in Andorra. And these were a slightly different distance to a normal triathlon. Well, obviously different in all sorts, because it starts with a run, that's 6.5 kilometres roughly. And then it was a 14-kilometre mountain bike on snow, finished up with cross-country skiing of 12k.
Yeah, and we had some serious athletes taking part. We had Pavel Andreev from Russia, who is the 8-time world champion, and we also had some long course legends taking part. We had Nika Lanos and Victor Del Coral, but It was Hans Christian Tungsvik, who is the 2019 Norseman winner, that managed to push ahead impressively on the cross-country skiing and take the win by an impressive 1 minute and 20 seconds over the previous world champion Pavel Andreev.
Oh, exciting stuff. Well, on the women's, it was also exciting because the winning streak for Russia for the last 7 years was ended by Sandra Meerhofen, who took the win in the women's event. And then there was the relay as well. Now, this consisted of 1.5k run, 3.2k bike and a 2.25 kilometre ski. And it was a mixed relay, so one guy, one girl in each team, and it was a Norwegian team of Hans Christian and Elizabeth Fiam who managed to hold off Italy and Russia, who were second and third respectively.
Well, very exciting. And this weekend we also had the South African National Triathlon Championships, which was supported and backed by the Professional Triathletes Organisation. Now, the standout favourites ahead of this race were, of course, Emma Pallard and Henry Schoeman, and they certainly didn't disappoint, both taking the win in the men's and women's races respectively. Now, going into the race, Emma was ranked 33rd in the PTO rankings, and Henry, well, he was unranked because obviously he is only just stepping up to long distance racing, but with these recent performances, I'm sure the team captains for the continents for the Collins Cup will be taking a look at them because, yeah, they've got a tough
They have, especially it's because there's so many races, like athletes have been unknown for the last year or so. Not unknown athletes, but performances unknown.
Yeah,
and now everyone's coming out of the woodwork and getting ready to fight for their place, aren't they?
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah. Well, talking of exciting, we are pretty excited here at GTN because in just a few days' time, we are heading to a real race, which is super exciting. So the Super League Triathlon have got their arena games being held at the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park in London this Saturday. And Mark and I and the team are going to be there.
Yeah, we are super pumped. We are literally going to be taking you with us through the doors and giving you a proper behind the scenes look, looking at the tech, talking to the athletes, basically showing you the inner workings of how the Super League Triathlon Arena Games actually works and how it is all put on in these current times.
Yeah, and this one, they're even including the para-tri, so we're going to see the likes of the British stars such as Lauren Steadman, Claire Cashmore, Dave Ellis competing. I think we've got Paralympic gold medalist Jets Platz also coming over to join, so it's looking like a very exciting event.
Well, it certainly is, and the men's and women's elite races also obviously really packed. We've got this big showdown between Lucy Charles-Barkley, obviously coming over from a long course racing, against the likes of Georgia Taylor-Brown and Sophie Caldwell, who are obviously short course speedsters. Also on the men's side, we've got the German duo of Jonas Schomburg and Justus Neuschlag that will be taking on the likes of Johnny Brownlee and Ben Dykstra. So really, it is going to be so good.
Yeah, and I think it's really just exciting in the last few days watching the athletes and how they're approaching it. And you've seen Lucy Charles is definitely set her sights on it, and we know how much she trains on Zwift anyway and how strong her swim is, and this is going to be something really short, and she talked about wanting to do Olympic stuff in the past. Then you've got the likes of Tim Don, who hasn't done short course racing for ages, but obviously was incredible at it back in the day.
Come on.
Oh God, you just put me on the spot with that one. I'm going to go with Lucy because her swim is just so incredible, and I think it is. She doesn't. I hope she's not going to kill me for this, but she doesn't have to worry about her transitions. You might need to check out her previous video for that one. On the men's side, I haven't looked at the lineup enough on the men's, but I'm going to go Johnny Brownlee because you put me on the spot. Go on, what are yours then?
I think it's going to be really interesting. I actually think Sophie Caldwell might be the one that surprised us because she's got the ability to swim with Lucy Charles and bike with Lucy Charles, and then I'm sorry, Lisa, I think she's got more run speed. So
yeah,
I think that'd be really interesting. On the men's side, I'm actually leaning more towards the German duo, Justus Neuschlag and Jonas Schomburg. They were super impressive in the first round in Rotterdam. And I just think it suits them a little bit more. So yeah, really, really interested to see that. Now, it's obviously in each of these races, they are doing 3 heats with super short recoveries between each. Literally, we're talking, a couple of minutes between each. So it really is a very exciting.
It's like the most hideous training session you can imagine.
Yeah, obviously the swim part takes place within the swimming pool, within their designated lanes, and then they're jumping out and doing the bike and run portions on Zwift. And it is all going to be live this Saturday. So you can watch the women's racing at 3 p.m. GMT and the men's at 4 p.m. GMT. You can watch that on the Super League Triathlon live feed, and also for anyone in the UK, you can watch that on iPlayer.
Okay, it's picture time, and to start us off, we have this one sent in from Lee of his Giant Trinity Advance. And he says it's his first ever TT bike. He's a disabled veteran and para-triathlete. Started triathlon training last year and then bought the bike on a budget, slowly upgraded it as and when I could afford. Maybe not the fastest or fanciest, but it's mine and I love it. Well, that's what's important. We'd love to know what upgrades you have done and what it actually came with initially. I can see a gold chain.
Well, it's a lovely photo as well in the snow, and
good slow-mo capture on that, isn't it?
Yeah, I will add you have left it in the small front chainring.
I wasn't going to say, Mark.
But no, honestly though, that photo is lovely, and I have also ridden the Giant Trinity before. It's a lovely bike, it really is. So yeah, fantastic work there. And next one and this one's a video actually. It's from Benjamin in Honduras, and he's on a training ride with his mates. So I've actually ridden and raced in Honduras. It is an amazing place. You're very, very lucky training there.
Well, it looks spectacular. Well, now our next one is in from Luke, and he is certainly more coordinated than we are on our bikes, Mark. I think we need to up our game here. It's his Isla road bike in Grand Cayman. I've been riding on Wahoo on Zwift and starting to train on the road. Enjoy watching your vlogs. Loves with challenges the most. Thanks.
And yeah, on an Isla bike, which is super popular with kids, but that coordination, woo, on point.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, great work, Luke.
Awesome.
Next one from Andy, and this is his Trek Domain AL2 disc. This is from Essex. He said he's just at turnaround point on his ride, decided to take a nice photo. Yeah, this is a new bike for this year. First drop handlebars since he was about 21. So yeah, fantastic work.
It looks ready for a long ride. Mud guards on and a very decent sized top tube bag. You can fit a lot of cake in that one.
Yeah. Also, well, please do keep sending in all your photos, videos, what you're getting up to, particularly as we start to get back to racing and training for those races. You can find the link for that on screen right now or in the description just down below. Okay, now moving on to the caption competition. Last week we had a photo from Challenge Miami with a very confused looking swimmer. There's some great captions coming in. First one from Chris Redfern said, if one more person asks me where the toilets are, ...
Always get a good bit of toilet humour here, don't we? Right, our final runner-up comes from Barrick. No, the start line is over there, I promise.
But our winner for this week comes from DKL HM family, said, be my guest, Jan went that way, which I think is quite funny given obviously the domination by Jan that weekend, and yeah, off you go. But then for this week's Caption Comp photo, we have this photo from the ITU Winter Triathlon World Championships, and I actually picked this photo up because initially I didn't actually see the bike, and there was just this man kind of hovering there, and it almost looks like he's photoshopped in.
Or like an astronaut that's just, bizarre.
Looks like he's just scaring the other guy. Anyway, get involved, leave your caption in the comment section just down below.
And that brings this week's show to a close, but a couple of great videos for you to look forward to. If you are stepping your running up and you're looking at running your first 10K, well, we've got some guidance in a video coming out very soon. And maybe you're doing an Ironman this year and you want to get that sub 6 hour bike split. Well, keep your eyes peeled for this week. And if you didn't manage to take a chance of our offer on the GTN shop over the weekend, well, you're not too late because we're actually giving offers all the time. So if you sign up to the newsletter, the link will be in the description below. You'll be able to keep an eye out on all the new merch. And I think we've got some new t-shirts coming soon, so keep an eye.
I'm excited as well. Well, I hope you have enjoyed today's show. If so, please do hit that thumbs up button, give it a like. Don't forget to give us a follow over on social media and subscribe just down below. And don't forget, you can still check out our Things the Pros Do that you probably shouldn't, and the half marathon training plan with Dan Lloyd, the penultimate video before his final half marathon.